Okay, so earlier we talked about having multiple projects and financial sense for each client. Can you give us a high level on why we decided to do it that way?
Yeah, for sure. So right now I have a view, just obviously we're in a demo file right now. And I have the view filtered for everything that we've created for this demo purpose. So this is all of our work, all clients, internal, external, everything. So I'm going to go ahead and just flip to I'm going to go to our bookkeeper's work. So this is the first step for our bookkeeping processes. And each client basically, as we mentioned, we schedule things on days of the week, or excuse me, on these client service windows, so 12-day periods. So how we configured our bookkeeping projects was that the bulk of the work happens in one project. So you can see here for our client Amazon, this was actually their June bookkeeping, or excuse, their May bookkeeping that we perform in the month of June, and they're in the fourth week of the month. So they're one of our later clients. So in this project, this houses the bulk of the work. So you can see it has all of their, different bank accounts, which ones we had transactions for, which ones we reconcile for, including clearing accounts, 401k, et cetera. And then it goes through all of the first step review that the bookkeeper does. And this would include, if there's anything weird about this file, if they had class codes, it's going to include everything here. So the reason that we did this was because, not all of our clients have a payroll clearing. Some people have QuickBooks payroll and we don't need to reconcile it every month. Other people, we import their payroll by the actual payroll date versus a monthly just journal entry. So each client's process for us is a little bit different. And this is why we did this. And another thing for us, this helps track scope changes. So if a bookkeeper is out and somebody else has to step in, and all of a sudden this client has a new credit card and it's like, well, this credit card's not on this list, then we know, okay, something's going on here, right?
That's a
Um,
valid point. Yeah.
so that's why we did this. The other reason why we did this is because we can give people budgeted time for this bulk of work. And then this is based on each individual bookkeeper's skill level. So if somebody is a higher earner, they're usually performing at a higher skill level. So it should take them less time than somebody else. So this is really nice because, if we have a senior level bookkeeper performing this and then we hand it off to somebody else to, give them more work, we're going to adjust this budgeted time to be relative to that new bookkeeper's skill level. So that they also know, okay, I need to stay within this 4-hour window or 5-hour window.
Yeah.
And once they start, getting faster and improving and understanding, we can see, oh, now it's only taking them 2.5 hours. Is that's like the trigger, right? Is that a change in the client's workload, or is this person just improving their skill level?
And do they need a pay raise?
Exactly.
Exactly. So what's our next step after Rocket Bookkeeping?
So after Rocket Bookkeeping, the very last thing that our bookkeepers do when they work through these processes is they create Liscio tasks. So we use Liscio for client communication, and they will create a task both for their clients. So we used to do this in email. So it's kind of whatever your client communication is, right? Financial Sense also has this. We just haven't implemented that aspect yet, but that's definitely a way that this could be sent. And so we ask first our clients for any additional information. So if we have questions on transactions, whatever, any client communications relative to the prior month's bookkeeping, we will request the information from them. And then the other part of that is we send this to a request to our team leader for a second level managerial review. So that's kind of the last steps in here. Those tasks would go out, and then the team leader now steps in. So I'm going to go to our team leader's work, which happens to be you, Alexis. And here you have your file review. So the file review is scheduled for actually the same day as bookkeeping. It typically doesn't happen the same day as bookkeeping, but for the recurring status of these projects in financial sense, we just have it recur the same day. And we know that happens like a day or two after. So that there's usually like a day to two lag time in the file review, but it still all falls within our like 12-day window. So then we go into this file review process and we have everything in here that the file reviewer needs to go through. And another thing that we use, which since this is a demo file, doesn't really have this in there, but if there was, if you're reviewing the balance sheet and there's known issues in the assets and an asset account, I would come in here and I would add a subtask, I would date it, and I would make a note of it. Right. And that's, I mean, we're also communicating this with the client, but in the event that Alexis, you're not here next month and somebody else needs to step in and review this file, they can easily see here a list of historical issues, that the status, what we're working on, etc. So they're not going back through prior client communications being like, well, did somebody ask about this negative asset, or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's our next. And again, this too, I know a lot of people that utilize Financial Sense build in file, like the reviewers work into like just the monthly bookkeeping workflow for the client. So each client only has one workflow in Financial Sense. And another reason we break it up is because I want to give the team leaders, I want them to know how much time they should have allocated for this, right? Again, if it's a smaller file, it's only going to take you maybe 30 minutes versus some of our other files. We have one client in here, Sally Shoes. Sally Shoes is a weekly job for us. We only review it once a month when the books are closed, but it's a large review because we do a lot of things for this client. So her review time budgeted is an hour. And again, I just want to be able to give each individual team member the ability to see what is assigned
Expected
to
of
them.
Yeah.
And how much budgeted time. And the other thing, because we do break up these projects into the nitty-gritty details, we're not having team members track time to specific tasks. Obviously, you could come in here and you could start the timer for your specific task. That just isn't necessarily how our workflows work because they are so detailed.
Yeah.
And it would be, it would add a lot of admin time to go in. Okay, I'm going to review the banking rules for 2 minutes, and now I'm going to clock out. Now I'm going to clock into the next one.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. All right. Last but not least, what's our final step in our bookkeeping process?
So the last step of file reviews of the manager is to create a to-do for our bookkeeper. So that is, any call outs that they saw with the file, they're going to send a to-do back to our bookkeeper and have them go and fix the problems. So that's one thing, like our managers don't tend to fix things. They give the bookkeepers the information so that then they can go back and fix the things and kind of learn and see what they're missing in real time. And so then our last step, I'm going to go back to our bookkeepers work, is this Rocket Reports project. So the Rocket Reports project is a little bit different than the rest of our projects because it is open for the entire 12-day window of our client service period. So it starts on the 1st. This is the first window of the month, and it ends on the 12th. They can actually complete this project whenever they have all of the information. So if they've received their information back from their clients and they've received their the information from their team leader about the things that need to be fixed during the review, they clock into this project, and we have review open task, make any adjustment, send the management reports, close the project. So again, this can be done at any point during the client service window, but it has to be done by the 12th. So that's kind of, and if we haven't heard back from our clients on those by the 12th, these reports are going either way. Our clients know that, and there's, asterisks there. So that's, again, how we're a little bit different. We're kind of try to minimize the touch points throughout this 12-day period. But the 12th is the last day. So I think for our bookkeepers, it's really nice because they will never have overdue projects. It's always something that can be closed and done.
Nice. So you've kind of alluded to capacity planning and time tracking and all that stuff throughout these projects. Can you dig into like some capacity planning and time tracking and kind of the things that we look at?
Yeah, so real quick, I do want to just call out that I did add this actual to budget column in this column header. And if you don't see that in your financial sense, if you click this gear icon, you can go ahead and add it here. You can, sort these, etc. We don't use internal due dates, so I did not include that guy. But this is a really easy way just for me to get a quick visual on how much time was allocated, how much time is this person spending. And ideally, I want to see these about even. I don't want to see that this person only took 2.5 hours when it should have taken 4.5 hours. So that's my quick visual. And then Financial Sense does have the built-in capacity planning reports. So if we go over to our capacity management, again, this is a demo file, so it's not fully built out. But this will give you a really quick visual on your team members. So Angela is one of our team members. You can see this week, she has 3 hours assigned via projects. Next week, she has 7.8 hours assigned via projects. And this is the total for this month. You can also set her capacity here based on how many hours, she's available to work per week. So this gives you super high level view. And again, for us, this is really nice because our projects do recur on weeks of the month. And so I can really see, how her first week shapes out, second week shapes out. And that is the bulk. Those initial Rocket bookkeeping projects are the bulk of the time we spend on our clients. And typically those Rocket reports take anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. So that's kind of the add-on that we know, will always be somewhere in this 12-day period, but at least for the big bulk of it, I can see how that's shaping out here.
Nice. All right, let's dig into time tracking. Let's get in let's see what we do on a weekly basis when we're reviewing our team's time and kind of get an idea of what our projects can look like.
So for time tracking, so the place I initially go, there's a lot of places to kind of look at the same things in different ways. But the place that I initially go is this reports, time tracking, and this team time, which I don't have a date range selected, so there's no team. So I'm going to go ahead, just again, since the demo file, I'm going to go ahead and select June through July. We did get some time entry in here. So we're June through July. I usually look at this on a weekly basis to see, what the team worked last week, just to make sure we're kind of in budget with what we're saying we're giving our team members. So we can see Angela here has 54.5 hours. If we wanted to view the details, we can kind of come into here. You can search by project or client. So like if I wanted to search Amazon, I can find like all the time that she spent on Amazon in the last 2.5 months. We really need to upsell them on some services, I think. And then the other thing you can do in here is, again, drill back down into like a single date. If you wanted to see what she was doing on a single date, you could do that as well. And then the other way we kind of look at time is on a client basis. So if I go to clients, type in my Amazon, I can see how much time was spent on Amazon by the entire team over these last 2 months. And again, you have the capacity to drill down into the details, etc. If I wanted to see just Amazon bookkeeping, we could come over here, Amazon, and see like here's their bookkeeping project. So last month it was 4.5 hours. It took 2.5 hours. So
nice, very cool. Okay, so I noticed when we were going through the main dashboard, there were a bunch of tags on the projects. So can you kind of dig into how we use our tags and why they are important to us?
Yes. So go back. Let's see. Okay, we'll just do all work. That's fine. Okay, so obviously these are for different clients. So we have the main tags that we use are whether their services, like what occurrence their services are happening on. So Amazon monthly client, Firestone monthly client, and we have Sally Shoes, who's our bigger one that we do weekly, and we have her marked as a weekly client. Another thing just to touch on, which is again why I like to use individual projects to track houses. I know I'm kind of backtracking here, but there's different things for Sally that we do on different weeks. So first week, we do the same thing we do all the other weeks, but we also close the books for the prior month on the first week. So it has a different level of task than Sally's second week project. And you can see that even reflected in the budgeted time. So for her second week, it's budgeted at 3 hours versus first week, when we close the books for the previous month, it's budgeted at 4 hours. Again, it's giving this team member a really good idea of how much time this should be taking. Sorry, really backtrack really quick. So back to tags. So we have our monthly tags, and then we also have our service level tags. So we have 3 service levels at Accounting Therapy: our major, moderate, and minor. And that's, we use those as well. We don't have sales tax tracking or sales tax or payroll projects in here, but those are other things. So if Sally Shoes had sales tax, I would have a sales tax project and I would use the sales tax tag. So then I can search by tag sales tax, make sure we have all of the sales tax projects in here, make sure they're all done in time. Same thing with payroll. I want to know by Wednesday afternoon that all my payroll projects for the week have been closed for the clients.
Nice.
Another thing we use for tags is their QuickBooks subscriptions. So whether they're in Essentials Plus, etc. Same thing with like desktop, whether it's Pro Premier, ES, etc. And that way, it's a really easy way to see what products they're using without having to log into the QuickBooks file or go into like our internal database to see that.
Yeah. I like that too for marketing purposes too, being able to see, okay, there's this new sales tax app. Let's go see who's using sales tax, or, there's this new payroll feature that might work for some people. Let's see who has payroll. So I love the tags. I think they're super, super helpful.
Yeah, it's also really nice for people that, if you're trying to figure out a workaround for them, to be able to see, oh, they already have Plus, like we can implement class codes again without having to like drill down into the file.
Valid point. So we've talked a lot about the bookkeeping review. What about the super status that you've implemented for us by putting all of our processes in Financial Sense? Can we see some examples of those?
Yeah, really quick, because I don't think we touched on this, or the like non-recurring stuff.
Oh yes, non-recurring. Good
Okay.
point. Yeah, let's dig into the non-recurring customer
Okay,
stuff.
so let me pull up. I'm going to use which one? Amazon for this. So this is looking at our work just for Amazon, and this is for any open projects over the course of the year. So these last 2 are 2 projects for us that we have open all year round. So one is our star status, and they're our mid-level. And this, if we click into here, this has everything in it that's included or not included in their star status. And this is a super easy way for our bookkeeper to just log in, know exactly what this client is getting and what is included in their services. So for example, with moderate, you get 4 meetings. So, I don't want my meeting time, because it's only a quarterly meeting, to inflate my bookkeeping project. So we created this project to house all star status kind of related items throughout the year. Plus, this is an added feature for us. So at the end of the year, I can see how much time my team spent providing these services that, we charge the client an additional X dollars a month for, and make sure that it's cost effective for both parties. And I can look back and say, okay, they had their quarter one meeting, they had their quarter two meeting, or maybe they took no meetings and need 3 meetings in December. Okay, we're going to give it to them because they utilized no meetings this year. It also includes what year-end activities are included. And then it does have a list of what is billable. And our team wouldn't track these, but it's a really quick way for them to see, okay, their 1098 recons are not included in their services. We're still going to ask for them and let them know we're going to bill out of scope for it because that's best practice. But I want to, it's an easy way for our team to see this. And then it has our final year end. So we do an annual managerial review. So again, like I don't want that time to inflate my monthly review projects. So we're time tracking it here because it's an added thing. And then it's also just serves as, a check off. So have we closed the file and added the closing password? Yes or no? Check this off. So that's our star status projects. And then the other one I have is this non-recurring. So for our clients, this would go to an Amazon non-recurring project because we utilize the project feature in QuickBooks to track capacity and all of that. So I want to know that Amazon Bookkeeping only has what's included in their bookkeeping services. So all these guys would be Amazon Bookkeeping. This would be my Amazon non-recurring. And that way I can see anytime there's non-recurring things that come up throughout the year, including those tasks that year end that are not in scope, we would track time to here. And what this is going to do is allow us to see, if you click this time tracking, all of the time tracking that's here, and you can add the notes. So if I'm looking back at year end and I see that this client has had, yes, they've utilized their quarterly meetings, but they've had a meeting every other single month with our team, I'm going to try and upsell them to our next star status because that has monthly meetings. Things like that, I can really see, what we've spent out of scope on this client and if there's an opportunity to just include that in their services so that we're not spending admin time billing them. They're not spending admin time paying us. It's just a smoother, cleaner process.
Yes. Yeah. Love it.
Okay, so you asked about our internal processes.
Yeah, let's do those.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
All right, so I have a view set for ATI internal workflows. So our customer for this in our file, of course, is accounting therapy. In our demo file, we of course have financial sense. So this would be essentially ourselves as a customer in our financial sense. And this is what we use to assign the client that we assign all of our internal workflows for. So, oh man, where do I even start with this?
Let's start with what NTM means. What is NTM?
NTM is new team member.
Okay.
So that is a new acronym for us. But when I was building out all of the new team member workflows, I got really sick of typing new team member into all of the titles of these and making them super duper long. So we abbreviated. So here we can see we have this new team member prep checklist, and this is for a new team member, Charlotte. This is assigned to our team leader, Alexis, who's going to be working on onboarding Charlotte. So this has everything in it that we do internally to get ready to bring on this new team member. So I have, we're creating different templates from Financial Sense. I have all of my templates in here. I have links. You can link to a template. So these aren't going to populate because these templates don't exist in the demo file. But I can link to this. It opens template. I really easily create the template for the new team member or the team leader, whoever it's assigned to. But this, you can kind of see, like, we have first week check-in, second week check-in, and we have both one for the team leader as well as for this new team member. It at times does feel like a little bit of an overkill, but it's really nice again because you can time track to it. So you can really see how much admin time it's taking you, first of all, to onboard this new team member and get them prepped and ready to go for day one, as well as how much time are we spending checking in with them the first week? Do we need a half hour? Do we need an hour, etc.?
It also reminds me what I have to do because
Yeah.
I need a checklist.
Yes, we all like checklists. We like checking off the list and closing that project. So this is, again, that's kind of what this project is. So we have that. And then when Charlotte starts, we have her onboarding checklist. So again, this is kind of a nice way to get her into financial sense right away. She's not going to have clients from day one, obviously, but she'll still have these projects. She can clock into the projects. She can see, I don't think this has a budgeted hours, but how much time she spent here. And it has, things for her to check off. So has she done her welcome to accounting therapy check-in? Has she done her bookkeeping intro session? We also have her resources here. So here we go. Watch the financial sense video, watch the time tracking video. So it's a really nice like landing spot for her resources and materials and for her to kind of know what she needs to do in her first 2 weeks.
Yeah. It makes onboarding team members so much easier too.
Yes. And it keeps it really organized. Like you don't have to worry, oh shoot, do I need to check? I don't know. It's all there in one spot. And it's a really easy way to just check the things off the list. So you can see we did go ahead and create Charlotte's 90-day review. And then this is the 90-day review assigned to Charlotte. And you kind of let her know again, like what is coming. So I had, and in our 90-day review for our manager, there's prompter questions, what to think about, what their follow-up is. If we've got to submit the team member approval change so that she's now an goes from an introductory team member to a, full-fledged team member, and kind of what that process looks like. So it's not the team leader having to remember, oh yeah, I need to let HR know. It's all right here for you.
Yeah. I love it. So I'm sure a lot of people out there are asking you or saying in their head, like, this is a lot of work. Like we both know a lot of time has been spent building this out, but what do you think the benefit is to doing all of this work up front as opposed to as we add team members, as we add bookkeeping clients?
Honestly, I think that it allows you the capacity to grow. I think so many of us get into the habit of thinking, well, it's all in my head. Like I know what to do. I don't need to write it down. It's going to take me more time to build out these processes and put it all in financial sense and create the workflow and timeline and all of that than it is just to do it, right?
Yeah.
And it's true. It's easier. But now for me, as I'm moving out of this bookkeeping team leader role into operations, how do I tell my new bookkeeper, who's going to be our new team leader, what they need to do?
Yeah.
Right? Like I know what I need to do because I developed the processes. I was part of creating these workflows of adding team members. So it's ingrained in my brain. But she doesn't know that. She doesn't know that HR needs to know that this introductory period team member is now a full-fledged team member and whatever. So it's been really helpful for that. And just for a resource as you grow to keep track of your processes and to be utilized to train new team members too.
Yeah. I see these processes as our way to getting to $10 million in 10 years. So that's what I see.
Yeah. And I think something that we've really struggled with and are learning from is that processes change. And as you grow, your processes change. And so it's been, as much as I am a perfectionist and I want to get all of these in here and right all the time and right away, it changes. And so for us too, I think moving forward, like we're looking at identifying periods of time where we review each process instead of constantly updating.
Yeah.
And so I think that's one thing to keep in mind is just build it for what works for you now. And maybe set a reminder in 3 months, 6 months, a year, go back through that process and dive in again and rebuild and add and grow. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time around, but it's something.
It won't be. It won't be.
It never will be.
All right, my dear. Thank you. All right, let's jump back.